Continue to track the growing impacts of the government shutdown, now entering its 9th day. And here is a live look at Reagan National Airport, which saw several flight delays last night because of staffing shortages. On average, flights were delayed about 30 minutes.
Meantime, millions of federal workers are feeling the impact as the government shutdown enters its 2nd week, and taxpayers could soon feel it too. 7 News reporter John Gonzalez is live now with a look at what the IRS is now doing. John, good morning.
That's right. Good morning, Adriana. This morning, the Internal Revenue Service announcing that it is furloughing nearly half of its workforce as this shutdown stretches on. And that means tens of thousands of employees are now off the job. We know that about 40,000 staff members will remain on duty to keep critical services running. Union leaders warn taxpayers to expect longer wait times, backlogs, and delays. And this just as extension returns are due next week. Furloughed employees are expected to receive back pay once the shutdown ends. But of course, the White House has said that's not guaranteed in that memo we've been talking about this week. The shutdown has already disrupted services and raised concerns about federal workers being used as political pawns. Meanwhile, dozens of federal employees and union members lobbied Senate offices Wednesday, urging Congress to restore funding and ensure pay for those off the job.
This is not a shutdown, this is a shakedown, okay? And people need to realize that, and the Congress need to realize that and get their act together and get their job done, because we're going to do ours.
And both sides on Capitol Hill saying they are seeking solutions. Republicans want to reopen the government first and foremost, while Democrats insist health care talks and ACA subsidies must be part of the deal to avoid premium hikes next year. Reporting live, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
All right, John, thank you. And as federal workers will soon start to miss paychecks, concerns are growing about rent and mortgage payments. Tensions are increasing as this shutdown drags on.
You know, it's stressful, and they are stressful, and they are wondering, you know, actually, how am I going to make ends meet?
What I've been seeing talking to other federal workers is more and more a growing awareness that this is a big fight. The stakes here are really high.
And we have seen the impacts before during the record 35-day shutdown back in 2018 and 2019. A survey by Prudential found that 27% of the federal employees that it spoke with missed a mortgage or a rent payment then. 49% fell behind on bills, and 42% took on more debt.
Well, this morning, runners are still waiting to find out if this year's Army 10-miler will be canceled because of the shutdown. Organizers said they were going to make a decision yesterday, but they didn't. And we have been checking the website overnight. So far, there are no updates. But remember, if it is canceled, you will be notified and fees will be refunded. The Army 10-miler virtual race, that will go on as planned starting Sunday. Well, you can find out when organizers make that decision by downloading the free 7 News app. Just make sure you have those push alerts turned on. We'll have much more on the shutdown coming up at 6:30. In the meantime, you can find all of our coverage right now on our homepage.
Well, the government shutdown has entered its 9th day, and this morning we're tracking the growing side effects impacting more and more people every day.
Reporter John Gonzalez live at Reagan National Airport with an update on staffing shortages that are causing flight delays. But we begin with John Rogers at the alert desk with a look at where negotiations stand at this hour. John?
Oh, I kind of feel like a broken record today. Again, marking the 9th day, Congress still deadlocked. Not much progress here. Yesterday, the Senate again failed to advance competing proposals from Democrats and Republicans. The IRS just furloughed half of its staff, and military families are bracing themselves if their paychecks don't arrive on October 15th as scheduled. House Speaker Mike Johnson said House Republicans will not support a standalone bill to pay U.S. troops during the shutdown. He argues the House has already done what it needs to do by passing a stopgap bill. At 11:30 this morning, Johnson will be holding a private call with House Republicans as the House remains out of session.
Well, the shutdown leading to staffing shortages that are now causing flight delays at Reagan National Airport. The FAA says some flights are running about half an hour behind schedule. 7 News reporter John Gonzalez is live this morning at DCA with what's behind these backups and how local leaders are responding.
That's right, Adriana. It was a rough night on average here at Reagan National Airport last night. 30-minute delays across the board, and that is all linked, we are told, to staffing shortages right there inside the air traffic control tower here. And, well, officials say this could get even worse. Federal workers here are doing their jobs despite the government shutdown. Many haven't been paid since October 1st. The FAA confirms air traffic controller shortages are impacting airports nationwide, not just here at DCA. The agency says delays could continue and some planes were even held from landing Wednesday night. Busy DCA is already under scrutiny following the deadly crash in January, and officials say even a small number of controllers calling out sick right now can ripple across the system. In the meantime, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, along with Democratic leaders, visited BWI Wednesday to thank TSA staff and controllers who continue to work without pay.
Because this is what's been going on for the past 9 months. You know, since Donald Trump has taken office, he has now fired over 15,000 Marylanders who are federal workers.
What we're saying is we want the government to open, but we also happen to believe that it is immoral to have people without health care.
And you have Chuck Schumer, and you have Chris Van Hollen, and you have Angela Also Brooks, and now you even have Governor Wes Moore, who have Trump derangement syndrome. They're putting their hatred of a man over the well-being of the citizens of Maryland and the people of the United States.
Now, short staffing doesn't always lead to delays. The FAA can reroute traffic when possible, but last night shows how fragile the system can be. Back in 2019, just 10 controllers calling out helped push lawmakers to end that government shutdown. A reminder that even a handful of absences can really ground a lot of flights here, not just locally, but throughout the country. Many of these workers were anticipating a paycheck tomorrow, Friday. Unless there's a miracle today, that's not going to happen. Reporting live, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
Well, this morning we want to hear from you. Are you more concerned with air travel safety due to this government shutdown? To vote yes or no, scan this QR code on your screen. So far, more than 30 people have voted, and so far 75% of them have said yes.
And with more flights being delayed and canceled each day, this shutdown drags on. This morning, 7 News is on your side with some tips on what you should do if your flight is affected. First, you want to check to make sure your flight is still on before you head to the airport. And if you're already at the airport and your flight is canceled, you can always reach out to the airline on X because they typically respond quickly there. Airlines will rebook you on a later flight for free, but if you want your money back, airlines only issue refunds for issues like maintenance or crew problems, not something that is out of their control like a government shutdown. And stay with 7 News as we continue to follow the impacts of the government shutdown. You can find all of our coverage up right now on our homepage, and that's where we're posting resources for federal workers and a list of what's open and closed.